Much for watching. I'm excited. I just did my first road trip in Thailand with a Tesla. I hope you all can hear me. Let's see how we're doing here. I think we're doing good. Hello? Please type in the chat if you're seeing this. I can't tell whether you guys can see me or not. Looks like we're good. So, this is the Tesla Model 3 that I rented. And okay, thanks, Jared. Appreciate it. This is the Tesla Model 3 that I rented. You can see Ploy and I in this shot, and then this is on a street in Bangkok, or as the locals call it, Krung Thep. Little like nuggets that I'm learning as I've been in Thailand longer and longer is there's so much that we have wrong about Thailand in the West. A really simple example is that Thai people do not call the city that I'm in Bangkok. They don't use that word. They call it Krung Thep. Bangkok is a name that was concocted by foreigners, and for some reason, the English language signs say Bangkok, but the Thai language sign, the Thai language on the same sign says Krung Thep. I use Bangkok Bank as my bank, and the name of the bank in Thai is Thanakarn Krung Thep. So great, and a quick tip here. I would just encourage people, learn another language. If you're American, learn Spanish. It's the easiest one to learn out of all the languages you could learn. If I was picking languages to learn going forward, I would learn English, Spanish, and Chinese would be high on my list. I, of course, have learned Japanese and Thai. I'm learning Thai now, which are relatively useless languages by comparison. But they're languages that are used by large populations, and Spanish and Chinese and English are the three, I think, most common languages used around the world. And if you're American, you speak English, you already go to Mexican restaurants. I think learning and it's relatively easy to read Spanish as compared to Chinese or Japanese or Thai. So that's just some thoughts. So Model 3, this is a Model 3 long range. It is a UK spec, a British spec Model 3. I think this vehicle was probably brought in before Tesla was selling Teslas in Thailand. So a lot of fun, great vehicle to drive. This is through a company called EVMe. Great experience with them. There were some very significant problems on this road trip, primarily related to charging. Charging in Thailand right now, in a sense, the infrastructure is there, but okay, so let me give the background of the problem. EVMe in general, when you rent a Tesla from EVMe, and maybe that I'm going to learn differently on the next rental, that certain features are not available. Like with the UK version vehicle, at least, no maps and no navigation, and most significantly, no supercharging. No supercharging. Okay, so that was kind of a big deal for us. There are Tesla superchargers. I think there's 21 maybe supercharger locations around Thailand. A lot of them are in Bangkok, Krung Thep. There's a few of them in other places. Hua Hin, Chumpon, Korat was one of the places where we were. I think Ayutthaya, which is another place that we were. But their vast majority of the superchargers are in or very close to Krung Thep, Bangkok, and not very many outside. I think Pattaya has one as well. So if you are going, and I want to talk about, let me talk generally about EVs in Thailand. EVs, first of all, there's a ton of Chinese EVs. There's a ton of BYDs. There are a fair amount of Teslas, and there's a lot of other Chinese EVs. So Deepal, I saw some Deepals. There's Volvos, which are really the Volvo EVs that I've seen, I think are actually made in China. The vast majority of the Chinese EVs I've seen, I'm loving life in Thailand. I'll get into that later. But the vast majority of Chinese EVs that I've seen do not have a lot of range and have low charge rates, and so they kind of suck on road trips. If you're just driving as a city car, the BYD Atto 3 is I believe, the #1 EV sold in Thailand. And it's a small SUV, smaller than a Model 3. To give a reference, a Model 3 has 2,100 cubic feet, 2,100 liters of cargo space when you fold the seats down. The Atto 3 has 1,300 liters, so it's significantly smaller than a Model Y. Interior space might be comparable to a Model 3, although sort of it depends on how you look at it. Um, and the Chinese EVs in general don't perform like a Tesla. So if you just want a city car and you're charging at home, it doesn't matter. And let's say one of the really cool things about Thailand is if you plug into a wall outlet, and this is critical, the wall outlet has sufficient hardware that it's not going to burn out when you do this. You get like 4 kilowatts charging. It'll charge 16 amps, 220 volts. It might even be, I think it was like 4 kilowatts. Now, I burned out an outlet. I lowered the amps from 16 to 10, and I burned out an outlet. The next place that I charged, we went down to 8 amps, and that was fine, and that was like 2 kilowatts. So for those who aren't familiar with this, when you plug into a regular wall outlet in America, it's 120 volts, 12 amps, and you get about 1 kilowatt, which means in 10 hours, you'll add 10 kilowatt hours. This vehicle has roughly 75 or 80 kilowatt hour battery pack. So if you were at 0, it would take 80 hours at 1 kilowatt to charge fully. If you're at 4 kilowatts, it only takes 20 hours. And you don't usually get down to 0. You're usually down to like 10 or 20%. You really don't need to get up to 100. You're only trying to get up to like 80%. So you can actually charge in a reasonable amount of time and get a significant amount of charge just plugging into regular wall outlets. So if you are charging at home in Thailand, you probably don't need to like wire some sort of higher end charger. You can just get the basic charger that you plug into the wall and plug in. You just have to make sure you have sufficient amps for the hardware in the circuit. Yeah, it's 220, right? So that was a positive experience, but by and large, the charging infrastructure outside the supercharging infrastructure, if we can call it that, sucked. I don't have a better way. This is the leading network. It's called PTT. It's basically the Thai oil company or something like that. They have a whole bunch of gas stations all over. They have the largest network. And on paper, it's a good network. They charge at a maximum of 120 kilowatts. Tesla's charge at 250 kilowatts. The Tesla supercharger network is 250. So half the charge rate at the peak. But really, when you're charging a Tesla, you're only getting peak for a while, for maybe the first for around 20%, it falls off, and towards the end, you might only be charging at 72 kilowatts or less. So it's not twice as fast to charge at a Tesla supercharger, but it's still faster, assuming that you're actually getting 120 kilowatts out of your 120 kilowatt PTT charger, DC fast charger. I was not getting 120 kilowatts. The best, I consistently got 60 kilowatts out of the PTT chargers, which is now significantly slower than what you're going to get from a Tesla supercharger. Now you're way less than way less than double the time to charge. So that was frustrating. And then the quality of the software, the app that you use to charge, the PTT app, and this is true not just to PTT, but I think I tried 3 or 4 different charging systems on the way. I used PTT and one other. I think I tried a couple others that didn't work or I couldn't get to it. Maybe I used 3 of them and 3 different charging networks. One of them was an app through the DMing app line. Okay. And that was clunky and that didn't work well. And the other one, I think the other one worked okay, but it was like a hurdle to get it done. Yeah, just like messy stuff. So, and then the like it took me, so this was my first, I'm going to call it successful charging stop. I was in an area, I was down around 5%, and I went to a charger and I couldn't get it to start. And I believe the problem was the credit card. And it was weird. It was like it took the credit card, and then I got the OTP code where you get like a text message to confirm it. And I think if I had, anyway, I tried 4 times at the first charging location, and somebody else was with a Chinese Volvo EV was also struggling with this particular charger. So gave up on that one, went to another one, and on my second try, this one, I got it to work. And this was on the way to our hotel where we were able to plug into a wall later, so it looked like it was hairy, but it was okay. I was down to 1% when we started this charge, and it did work. The other thing is they use a reservation system. So in the app, you can reserve a charger, and that's going to lead to an interesting story later. If you follow me on X, you've already seen this story, but I'll get into the story. Is Thai 220 like pH? I don't know. It was whatever. Um, so yeah, it was just like, you have to make a reservation, and if you don't have a reservation, you might show up to the charger, and the app will tell you whether the charger is booked or not. And you can actually, but if you're driving, like it's you really have to plan your charging, and you have to plan your schedule, and you have to be um, meticulous and stay to your schedule. Otherwise, you can end up at a charger that's booked and not be able to charge. Now, in some places, there's a lot of chargers, and you'll probably there's a lot of charging locations. Like the typical charging location has 2 DC fast chargers and 1 AC charger. And in my experience, the AC chargers usually didn't work. Although in one case, the AC charger worked and the DC fast chargers didn't work. So when you're used to Tesla, like you just pull into a supercharger and there's empty superchargers and you plug in and it just works, and there's no reservation system, and you don't have to use some sort of fancy app. You just plug the car in and it charges. There's a, initial thing where you got to like give Tesla your credit card, but it just works. It's just like plug in, walk away. And there were I think one time I opened the door to the car and stopped charging, and it was all cards. It was just janky. It's really weird. So, but anyway, we did get some charge out of this one. We got to our hotel after this and were able to charge up significantly over the 2 or 3 nights we stayed. Every night we charged, and the pricing is pretty competitive. I think it was around at one time I paid 6 baht per kilowatt hour and maybe 8 baht per kilowatt hour, whatever. And you've added it up, it's around half or a quarter the price of gasoline per mile. So that's not bad. This is another charger we went to, and you can see a BYD Atto 3 parked next to the Tesla. I think that's at the Atto 3. Yeah, it's a BYD for sure. Let me just see if I can make this bigger. Yeah, BYD Atto 3. So that gives you a sense of what the BYD Atto 3 is, the most popular EV in China. You notice he was parked on the line, so it made it hard for me to get out of the car. And I ended up parking on my line, and then somebody, pulls up next to me. And that, by the way, the extra spot right here, that's for the AC charger, which I don't even know if it was working or not. And the AC chargers charge at like 7 kilowatts or something like that. So in an hour, you would get 7 kilowatt hours. So not very good. And then, they're not always working, and the reservations are only for 27 minutes. So if you get a half hour at 60 kilowatts, you only get 30 kilowatt hours. So how does that supposed to work? You're down to 20% and you only charge 30 kilowatt hours. You're not getting to 80%. So that's kind of crazy stuff. Yeah. So this was it was a hairy experience. Do I have another? I think I have another charge. I think we got to get to so this is the big charging experience. This is the entertaining one. This is like the, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. So I'm at this is in Bangkok or Grung Thep. This is a dedicated EV charging PTT, but there's no gas pumps. It's the oil company's station, but it's no gas pumps. It's only EVs. This is near Jadojak Park, for those who know Bangkok. There's I forget what this EV is here next to me. Let me pull that out. Oops, not that. Let's see if I can make this bigger. I don't remember what that vehicle was. I can't tell from the image. In the back here, there's a Deepal. Those are fairly new Chinese EVs, pretty nice ones. So anyway, I pull into this charging station at night. It's like 10 o'clock at night. And some of the app shows that 3 of the 4 chargers are available, which means they're not booked. So I pull into not this one, but the one diagonal from it. And I'm about to start charging, and I forget where I was in the process, and I'm still kind of getting comfortable with this process. And all of a sudden, this guy pulls up behind me in an MG, which is a Chinese brand from, I think, Great Wall Motors or SAIC or something like that. Pulls up behind, starts yelling at me. I'm like, and he's saying reservation. I'm like, well, and the thing is, if he had a reservation, then the charger wouldn't have been available. But he's not, he doesn't speak English much. He's yelling at me and reservation. I says, no, I point to the app. It says it's available, so you don't have a reservation. I didn't think to ask him to show me his phone. Anyway, I just plugged in and started charging. And if you see right on there's like a red button. See if I can make that bigger. There's a red button on the charger. It's like an emergency stop. That thing in the middle of the charger. He hits the red button and stops the charging. Not just for my car, but for the other car on the other side of the charger. And I'm like, what the? And and the guy, I'm 6 foot tall or 5'11", whatever, and I'm 220 pounds right now, about 100, almost 100 kilograms, depending on the day. And the guy's like, I don't know, 5'7", maybe 120, maybe 130, I don't know. And I'm not going to I'm not going to get in a fight. That's just not, like, I'm not in my country. I don't know what's going to happen if I get in a fight. But this was like really extreme behavior. And Thailand is, people are so polite, don't have any issues at all. And all of a sudden this wingnut starts doing crazy shit. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? But, and the other guy's like, and he says something to the other guy. I don't know what the other guy didn't freak out. Why didn't the other guy get pissed off at him? I don't know. He's screaming about a reservation. Like, I wouldn't be able to charge if he had a reservation because the charger would have been marked as booked. And if, you have to, you get, it's reservation system. It's like on the hour or on the half hour, and you have like 5 minutes to show up. So if you're not there in 5 minutes, but I'm pretty sure it was marked available even 3 minutes after the hours. But he came up, it was 6 minutes after. So if he had a reservation, it was gone, but whatever. So anyway, this spot here opens up while he's doing this. So I just drive around and start charging, and I get 30 minutes of charging in or 25 minutes of charging. I think it took me some time I lost some time in this process. So maybe I got 20 minutes of charging, and then the charger shuts down because somebody else has a reservation, who, by the way, doesn't show up. But anyway, the spot towards moving the vehicle forward, the next spot opened up, and I just pulled to the next spot and charged again and got what I needed to get to 50% for returning the rental at the end of the day. So this was just, like an adventure. And, the thing is, like, it's not like I have somewhere I have to be, right? I'm a retired guy goofing around Thailand, chasing my girlfriend around and having fun. And, there's nothing mission critical for me. And at the age of 58, I have a degree of calm and relaxation. I don't really panic in these situations. But, just the sense of all this chaos that goes on, with the Tesla, there's no reservations at a Tesla supercharger. Who came up with this idea of making reservations? You show up, if the charger's available, you charge. If it's not, and there was another charger. I don't think I loaded the photo here. There was another charger I was at. There's the mall next to me. So before I came to this charger, the mall next door to my condo is supposed to have 40 kilowatt chargers. I think, what company is that with? Whatever. And I go over to the mall. I pull in, some of them are reserved. There's two main DC fast chargers with 2 cables each. One of them is not working. Like Teslas are like supercharged like 99.96 or 99.99% uptime. And I swear, DC fast chargers and these public chargers in Thailand, and I think the same is true in a lot of the United States, that the uptime is like 50% or 60% or something. And whenever a charger's down, that means the other chargers get busier. So I did not expect this mall to be busy because I'd been at this charger before and there was nobody there. But I get there and it's pretty crowded, and the AC charger isn't working, and there's chargers that say they're available, but there's somebody parked and charging in them. It's just a whole bunch of crazy stuff. And then there was a BYD seal, a white BYD seal. I posted it on my X, I think, on my X account, I think. Parked in a spot that was available, and I think it was an AC charging spot that was available for charging, and it wasn't plugged in. So he's like icing a charging spot, but he's not a gas car. Like, you don't block how would you park an EV in a spot with a charger and not charge? So anyway, somebody leaves. There's 2 DC fast charging units, with 2 cables each, and somebody leaves one of them. So I back in and I start charging. And it's supposed to be 40 kilowatts. I'm only getting 15 kilowatts. And all right, whatever. So I start charging, and I'm using the app or whatever, and I I'm online customer service talking to the company saying, what the hell's going on here? Can you get these things working? Whatever. But anyway, I get it charging and I walk away and I go home. This is the condo, the mall right next door to my condo. So I go to the condo and I'm chilling out and the app stops working. Like it's not showing charge. So I message the guy, say, hey, my app seems to have stopped working. Is it still charging? And he checks with some tech and says, yeah, it's still charging. Well, I go back 2 hours later, figuring I'll get 30 kilowatt hours. That's going to be enough to put me roughly where I need to be. And or maybe I was planning on staying for another half hour or something just to get where I need to be. And I get there and the car had stopped charging after only like 2 kilowatt hours. Like the guy had told me it was still charging and it wasn't charging. So I mean, I got somebody from customer service, but he was wrong. And so it's just, and that led to me having to go somewhere else because the mall closes at 10 o'clock. So I end up coming over here and have that adventure. So charging was a nightmare. I think if you are on a road trip in Thailand and you have a Tesla that can use the Tesla supercharger network, then it's a much better experience. And YouTuber Darren Young, my friend Darren, he did a video. He's in Singapore, but he came to Thailand, did a video with somebody, and that guy had a charger that he went to and he didn't have a problem with it. And it wasn't PTT. I forget who it was. So I think if you get comfortable with the system and you know what you're doing over time, but like the learning curve of using the charging networks here in Thailand is a big learning curve. And there's the Tesla supercharger network. There's three major ones. There's PTT and PEA and another one I can't think of. BYD has an extensive network. I think they have 40, like where Tesla has 21, I think BYD has 40 or so charging. And I don't know whether a Tesla can charge at a BYD charging station. I know a BYD can't charge it. No other EV can charge at a Tesla supercharger here in Thailand. So I'm not a pioneer. I'm just, there's lots of other people who have been doing this before, but I don't feel like people have really explained the challenge. So this was our first road trip, our first EV road trip in Thailand. I think in October, we're going to do another road trip with the same company. I was very happy, just to be clear, despite the concerns and some issues about the vehicle being defeatured, it was still a great drive. It was locked in chill mode. It's locked in chill mode, and maximum speed was 113 kilometers per hour or 70 miles per hour. The top speed limit on Thai highways is 120 kilometers per hour, so it's kind of sucky to be limited to 113 kilometers per hour, but it didn't matter a whole lot. There's very few moments where you're actually going faster than 113. You expect to be able to go faster than 113 kilometers an hour for very long, just because traffic in general on Thai roads. Yeah, fortunately, I haven't had to do a squat toilet, William. But I think next time I would avoid some of the real nail biting experiences and be a little more prepared, and I might like plan my charging out a little more carefully. The hotel we stayed at in Nakhon Ratchasima, the hotels we stayed at, we were able to charge one way or another, so that was good. But it would be nicer to be able to do more. And so anyway, I think we're going to do maybe a Model Y road trip. This was a Model 3 road trip. The Model Y road trip will be tougher because it's going to have less range. This is a long-range Model 3, so it's got a lot of range. So Model Y road trip, but I think we won't drive as far on the next road trip. I think we're going to a place called Pattaya, which is pretty close. Rayong, which is where there's a lot of auto manufacturing, and there's a spot in between where somebody reached out to me, and I want to go see about potentially looking at housing down there. Anyway, so I'm going to reach out to EVme and see if they want to sponsor me to do a road trip with their vehicle, and maybe they'll open up the supercharger network and stuff if we do that. Have I learned any fun Thai slang or colloquialisms? Not that I can think of. My Thai. Okay, so let me just finish I'm going to finish this, and then we'll get into the Thailand stuff, the other Thailand stuff. So this is us in a place called Khao Yai. Now, when you hear people talking about Thailand, there's certain major places that you hear people talk about. Bangkok is the obvious one. Phuket is a Phuket, or you can pronounce it a different way, but it's pronounced Phuket. Phuket is a beach destination, which is, I haven't been to Phuket, but I went to some of the same islands from another destination called Krabi, which is more popular with Thai, but same basic thing. Phuket, Pattaya, and Hua Hin are more well known. A place called Chiang Mai up north, which I haven't been to yet, is pretty well known. Khao Yai is popular among Thai people. I did not see a lot of foreigners. It's a Khao Yai literally means big mountain. And there is a mountain named Khao Yai, but it's actually not the biggest of the mountains in the Khao Yai area. There's a whole bunch of mountains around. It's a big national park. So we drove around the big national park and saw a lot of stuff. And this is a spot where we stopped with the Model 3 and had a nice little view there. And I think this is in the same park, and you can see in the background there. I don't know if you guys can see it. There's a deer. Let me make this bigger. Uh, you can see the deer with the. I think it's a deer with antlers. Um, just walking across the road. So Khaoyai, by the way, Khao Yai. Then this is near Khao Yai. I think this is near Khao. No, I think this. I think this was in or near Khao Yai. This is a pretty nice temple. And there was another nice temple near it that we went to. This was like you just kept walking upstairs and you kept seeing different spots. And there's like layers of these. You see all these colored things, and like every level you'd go up, you'd see a different thing looking out, and you'd have a different view, and you'd get higher and higher up. This is a really cool temple. It was a little bit in disarray, but it's just absolutely beautiful spot. And what's the last thing I got here? This is Ployanai in Ayutthaya. Ayutthaya is a city north of Bangkok. It's about an hour drive from here to where we are in Bangkok. If you if you go the smart way, I didn't. I went the wrong. I went the long way. Um, so I wasn't smart about that. I should have gone on the motorway and I went the wrong way. And by the way, the hat that you see me wearing there, make that bigger. That's the Tesla Investors Thailand hat from my friend Chris, KP Trader. If you look up KP Trader, he does a lot of videos on YouTube, although they're in Thai, so that might not be helpful for you. So, does she like the car? She didn't like the charging experience. I don't think she loved the Model 3. I think she likes the Model Y better. There's a Chinese, I think it's MG, has a Maxus 7 that we saw at an event. And the Maxus 7 is basically like a 7-passenger minivan, but like luxury. And I think it was like less than a competitive with the price with the Model Y with a lot more room. Less range, slower charging. Obviously not Tesla software, but she liked that one a lot. I think she likes the idea of a 7-passenger vehicle so we can take, other family members with us on trips. We did drive. It's possible there may have been more passengers in the vehicle than seatbelts on our first leg of our trip. So let's get into Thailand. And sorry, just really quick, Khao Yai was great. We went to Nakhon Ratchasima, which is also known as Korat, K-O-R-A-T or K-H-O-R-A-T. It's funny, I had talked to people beforehand about going to Korat, and they're like, nothing to see there. It's nothing special. And they were right. Korat was like, I don't know what's special about Korat, but I didn't see it. We stayed in a really nice hotel, Center Point Hotel at Terminal 21. There was charging available. Wasn't great, but it was okay. I think that was the one where the mall parking garage itself had a PTT charger set up, but the DC fast chargers weren't working. And I was able to charge on AC for, I forget how long. Yeah, and then there was another charger downstairs that's associated with the hotel, and that was the one that used like the Line messaging app for the software. Really weird. Yeah, so Ramesh says if you get a chance, the Hyatt and Hua Hin, great prices. And the cost of living in Thailand, let me just talk about Thailand a bit. The cost of living in Thailand is shockingly low. I don't have any other way of putting it. Like, I've gotten so used to it that I paid $2 for an omelet with pork today, and I was annoyed that it cost so much. Like, that should only be about 60 baht. It shouldn't be 75 baht. Like, when you get annoyed that you got an omelet for $2, it should only been $1.50. The cost of living in general is just low here. I'm in this condo. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo. Spectacular view. Absolutely. If you can follow me on X, you've probably seen it. Just absolutely stunning view. I'm looking out my window right now. The Chao Phraya River in the distance, lights, everything. 36th floor. $650. It's less than $650 a month. At the current exchange rate, it was around $600 a month when I signed up for it. 22,000 baht. 3 air conditioners. It's there's some compromises. The kitchen only has 2 burners, refrigerator's a little small, but, 6 I think it's 600 square feet. Um, there's a 2-story gym in the building. There's an infinity swimming pool on the 8th floor. We're next to there's a 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven is like insanely popular in Thailand. There's a 7-Eleven at the ground level, which is very common in Thai condos, in large condo buildings to have 7-Elevens. There's a mall next door. It's like I think it's a total of like 10 floors. There's tons of Japanese and Thai restaurants. There's a Thai food court on the ground floor. There's a movie theater on the 8th floor. The gym, I go to the gym on the 8th floor. I have a 2-story gym in my condo, and I go to the mall to go to the gym because the gym's better in the mall. And gyms, by the way, are a little bit more expensive. I think I pay $40 a month for the gym, where, in America you'd pay $10 a month. But um, anyway, so cost of living's low. People are great. The big negatives to me are from December to March, the air quality in Bangkok and everywhere north of Bangkok and to some extent south of Bangkok, the air quality is bad, not because of Thailand, but because of Southeast Asian agricultural burns. And it's a dry season, so the rain doesn't take it down. The sidewalks are an adventure. I'm surprised more people don't get injured by the sidewalks. They're that bad. You have to watch you just literally have to watch your step. And I've been here for almost not a year. I don't think I've been here a year. I've been here for several months, and off and on because I travel a lot. And I think I've fallen twice, and I've almost fallen several times. Just because you're walking down the street, and all of a sudden there's like a literal hole in the sidewalk, or there's a spike sticking up in the sidewalk, or the tiles end, and like you don't realize it, and you step down farther than you think. So you really have to watch where you're stepping when you're in Thai sidewalks and Bangkok sidewalks. People complain about traffic. I don't know if it's any worse than Miami. And so those are the major negatives, I guess. Positives: low cost of living. We live close to a transit station, the Blue Line, and the Blue Line and the Green Line are the biggest lines, and then I guess the Siloam Line is also a big line. So there's some great transit system here. The transit system in Bangkok is not as good as Japan, or probably close to as good as Singapore. Maybe not quite, but it's pretty good. And it's not comprehensive. There's areas it doesn't reach, but for the areas it does reach, it's pretty amazing. And you pay like, a buck 50. I think the minimum fare is like 50 cents or something, less than 50 cents. Depending on how far, go 3 stations, it might only be 50 cents. If you go the full length of the line, it might be like a buck 60 or something like that. And it's not super fast. If you go one end to the other, it might take you a while, but gets you where you want to go, and better than driving a car. So we don't generally drive a car. My fiance does have a car. Fiance, by the way, we're getting married in a few days. That's another highlight. In 4 days, we will be legally married. There's a process. Let me talk about that really quick. I'll show a picture of her again. That's Ploy. For those who were curious, she's 36. We are trying to get pregnant. I'm 58, so there's a bit of an age gap, but she's absolutely delightful, absolutely wonderful. As far as I'm concerned, she's the most beautiful woman in the world. Sweet, kind. I noticed, I think the thing that really pushed me over the edge saying I have to marry this woman is seeing her with her own family. Seeing her with her nieces, seeing her with her mother, seeing her with her father, her cousins. Just a really great person. And she's great to me. And really sweet. Anyway, we have so she has we're gonna be married in 4 days legally. We're gonna have a real wedding in Khao Yai, probably maybe late November is a guess. Like a more formal. I don't know if it'll be a formal wedding, but a more formal wedding. And then we're probably gonna do a party in Bangkok for the people who couldn't come to the wedding in Khao Yai. So and we're trying. So we're in that window right now where she could be pregnant, for all we know. We'll find out soon. And I kind of expect that within, given I did my nerd math, and I think there's good odds that within 3 years we'll have at least one child, and hopefully 2 or 3 or more. And she's just adorable and wonderful, and we're having a great time together. And we've traveled a lot. We've been to Malaysia, Vietnam, road trip in southern Thailand, We've been to Japan once. We're going to Japan again. We've been to Taiwan. We're stopping in Hong Kong on the trip to Japan. Um, yeah. So okay. So I think I've covered that part of it, and I will say, like, I think if you were, I'm a passport bro. Basically, I decided I wasn't having any success finding what I was looking for in America. No criticism of American women. American women want what they want, and I'm not what they want. Okay, I moved on. I took a shot. I dated some women. I dated some pretty nice women. One of them was a little crazy. One of them was pretty much spectacular, but I wasn't what she wanted. So, okay, moved on. And I came over here and, went to Japan first and had some dates. Japan was okay. Um, Met Ploy in Thailand. Had a lot of dates in Thailand, was planning to go to the Philippines and then back to Japan. And I stopped with Ploy. Um, we're not trying IVF yet. We're trying the traditional way. It's a lot more fun. Um, I'm not ruling out IVF. It's just not. I think they definitely have it. There's definitely like fertility clinics in Thailand. So, William says, how common are Teslas in Thailand? Do you see Tesla showrooms or advertising? So there's a mall called Siam Paragon. Siam is a popular name for Thailand. Um, so Siam Paragon is a mall in the dense foreigner heavy part of Thailand, part of Bangkok. It's a very nice mall, Siam Paragon. And on the third floor, there is a Tesla, I don't want to say showroom. It's a fairly small area where they have like a Model 3 and a Model Y, or maybe there's a third vehicle. And there's Tesla salespeople you can talk to. And I think there's one more like that. And then there's the main Tesla sales center and service center in a place called Ramkhamhaeng. So I've been to the one at Siam Paragon. I don't think I've been to the other one, and I've been to Tesla Ramkhamhaeng. I saw the Cybertruck when they had an event at Tesla Ramkhamhaeng. We actually went and test drove a 2023 Model 3 like demo model or media model, and was thinking about buying it. It was a very favorable pricing, but then I couldn't get a loan because I'm a foreigner, and we weren't sure whether Ploy. And ultimately I just decided, you know what, we're just going to rent a kit, because the purpose of having a Tesla isn't daily driving. Because on a daily basis, we're either home or we take the transit system, because the transit system is better than driving. So the idea is once a month or so, we'll take a 1 week road trip. And it turns out with EVme, we can rent a Tesla. Like we paid 15,000 baht, which is around $400, $450 to rent that Tesla for a week. If I bought a Tesla and had a loan, I'd probably be paying like $900 a month plus the down payment. So renting for a week makes a lot more sense. If we did not live on a transit stop, and there's a chance next year that we will move to somewhere that's not on a transit stop, then it would make a lot more sense to have my own Tesla. But once a month or so, take a Tesla for a 1 week rental and drive around, do a road trip. Makes sense to do it that way. And I should say that and then some months we're not going to do a road trip. So in November we're going to go to Hong Kong and Japan for something like 18 days. So we're not going to road trip in November. And then December, my kids are going to come visit. I'm not sure we're going to do a road trip in December. We might do a road trip before they get here. So if you're not going to road trip, if you're only going to road trip one week a month or less, it doesn't make sense to buy a car if you're not going to use it otherwise. So let's see. So I do see Teslas. I'm seeing more Teslas. I didn't see very many when I first got here back in December of 2023. Now I see a lot more of them. And I do think that Teslas are by far, especially in Thailand, the best road trip cars. I think that, just for an example, especially if you have the supercharger network. So imagine you have a Tesla Model 3 versus a BYD Atto 3. The BYD Atto 3 has smaller battery pack. I think the Model 3 that I was driving has something like, we'll call it 300 miles of range, which let's say it's 500 kilometers of range, something like that. The BYD has, 100 kilometers less range. So instead of 300 miles of range, that's probably 330 miles of range on that Model 3. It's got like 250 miles of range. The charge rate on a Tesla is up to 250 kilowatts, especially at a supercharger. The charge rate on the BYD Atto 3 is 88 kilowatts. So the Tesla charges 3 times as fast. And 3 times as fast adding kilowatt hours. So You are supposed to have international license, Ramesh, and like I said, it was $450 for the week. You can tell me whether you think that's expensive or not. It's a hell of a lot cheaper than buying a car and paying $900 a month for a loan. So now, I could sell some Tesla stock and just buy it outright, but do you want to do that? And I should say that the vehicle that I would have bought with a loan or outright would work on superchargers, and it had FSD, which of course is not functional in Thailand yet, but might be functional in the future. Yeah. So I didn't notice any Karat cats when I was out there, so maybe they're there and I didn't notice them. Um, so yeah. So language, I want to talk about language a bit, and I'm going to go about another 20 minutes, and I'm going to be doing a space on X after this. I scheduled a space on X. If you're not familiar with the X platform, or formerly known as Twitter, there's a feature called Spaces, which is sort of like a Zoom. Currently, it's I think only one person can have video. When I was using it most of the time, no, there was no video. I believe I can do video this time. But I would be the only one on video, and the other people wouldn't be on a video, as far as I know. But it's basically a conversation app where people can have conversations, or people can speak, and an audience can listen, and sort of like I'll talk, and then I'll interact with the audience, bring people up. You quote, bring people up on the stage to talk, and so on. And I would encourage people to become verified on X. I generally only bring up people who are verified to speak on stage when I do a space. But I'll be talking about the same stuff I'm talking about here, maybe some more. And we'll probably end up talking about broader Tesla topics as well. So I don't see any Tesla advertising, by the way, William. I see Tesla. I don't think I see any Tesla advertising. I'm sure there's some, but I don't see, like, sort of like a store will be advertising a promotion, and you'll see, like, if you get enough points, you get like a lottery ticket to get a Tesla or something like that. Yeah, and thank you, Mark, for promoting that. Follow me on X, WR4NYGov. That's Warren Redlick for New York Governor, what I ran for governor in 2010. And check out the t-shirts at elonbits.com. This is a t-shirt I got from my friend Chris, who's KP Trader. You can see KP Trader here. He's got a YouTube channel that's in Thai. I am learning Thai. I'm making progress. I feel like I made like a leap because I started learning to read. There's a guy named Kellen James who has a video course on the website Udemy, and that was a real game changer for me and made it a lot easier to learn to read. And I think whatever language you're trying to learn, learning to read is really important, because once you can read, then you can learn a lot on your own. And I can read Spanish, and I can read French. I obviously can read English. I can sort of read Japanese, and I'm starting to learn to read Thai. And the more you can read, the more literate you are in any language. So I highly recommend that. And I really strongly believe that if you only speak one language, you are failing to take advantage of this magic thing in your head. And I would encourage you to pick a language and learn it. Number one choice would be Spanish. For English speakers would be Spanish, simply because hell of a lot easier to learn Spanish, because the alphabet is essentially identical with like very slight variations. And you already know a lot of words because you've been to Mexican restaurants. So, and Spanish is, between English, Spanish, and Chinese, you've got the three major languages that are used around the world today. Probably no other language is comparable to those three in the amount of usage that they get. Learning Spanish is useful in America. There's lots of places in America where it's useful. It makes it a lot easier to travel to Mexico, which is right across the border. And there's a whole series of countries south of Mexico that are Spanish speaking. Also, Spanish is pretty close to Italian and Portuguese. So if you learn Spanish and then you're in a place where you're in Brazil, you kind of sort of understand what's happening, just like Chinese and Japanese are loosely related. And I think Chinese people in particular can understand Japanese quicker. But you have this amazing thing in your head and you're not using it. And, if you spend all your time reading English, your English isn't going to improve. But if you learn to read Spanish and then you read more Spanish, your Spanish is going to improve. So, yeah, I can't recommend that enough. So Thai, choosing to learn Thai, 90 million people in the world speak Thai. There's 90 million people in Thailand. It's not terribly useful anywhere else. But I'm marrying someone here and she has a family here, and most of the family doesn't speak English. And if I go to a restaurant, I want to be able to order And some of the restaurants don't have English language menus, and she's not always going to be with me to help explain. And maybe that's not the best part of the relationship, is having your fiance or wife explain a menu to you. So it's a big motivator for me because I love to eat. And even in the grocery store, what is this thing I'm getting here? So yeah, highly recommended. Let's see what else to talk about. Let's talk about Tesla for 15 minutes. So, from what I can see, FSD is making great progress. I'm really excited about the developments in FSD. I think that is between FSD and Optimus, the Robotaxi network and Optimus, that is the future of Tesla stock. I have said in the past, and I don't know if I've said it on my channel here on YouTube, I think that the battery revenue model that I talked about before is probably dead. Chinese EVs are going to outsell. If you don't have FSD and you don't have Robotaxi, Chinese EVs are going to outcompete Tesla in terms of overall volume in the market. Not to say Tesla won't have any market, but if you're going to have 100 million cars sold in the world, I think Tesla will be lucky to get 10 million, because the vast majority of vehicles sold are inexpensive. The Chinese are really good at making inexpensive EVs. It's a star. Even a BYD Atto 3 is under 25 grand here. The BYD Dolphin's under 20 grand. They are good city cars. And I'm 6 feet tall and 220 pounds. They're a little small for me. I sat in the BYD Atto 3. It was big enough, but they're a little tight, maybe, for, Americans. But a lot of the world is a lot of small people. Chinese people, Japanese people, Thai people, Malaysians. There's an awful lot of people in the world that don't need a big car. They're not all Shaq. Shaquille, by the way, if you didn't see it, Shaquille O'Neal just got a Cybertruck, and there's some picture and video of Shaquille's Cybertruck. Looks pretty awesome. It's a really amazing black color to the vehicle. So, and the brand damage to Tesla is so horrible. You keep getting all these celebrities getting Cybertrucks. Brand damage. So, Elon is destroying the brand by making amazing vehicles and doing amazing things. Really excited about what I'm seeing there. We are getting closer and closer. I think we are about 1 month away from the reveal of the Cybercab. So what is that vehicle going to be? What are we going to learn about it? I'm pretty excited about that. I think we're getting closer and closer to new models coming. They even said potentially by the end of this year. So maybe they'll announce something at the Cybercab event. There's a lot of rumors about a refresh of the Model Y. I am skeptical. I'm hopeful. I'd love to see a new Model Y with ventilated seats and some other features. If I'm going to be buying a Tesla, it will be next year. I think my lease is up here in something like May. I'm guessing. I forget when my lease is up. We really like this place, but there's a chance we're going to move. And if we move somewhere that's off transit stop, not adjacent to a transit stop like we are, then maybe I would buy a Tesla then, and we'll see what the Tesla stock is. If Tesla stock goes to 400 or 500, then it's a lot easier for me to just say, okay, fine, I'll sell some stock and buy something. Let's see. I'm seeing good numbers. I don't really worry about the quarterly numbers. I'm hearing reports that, Tesla sales in China are up, or, I don't know how well Tesla sales are going. I did see some pictures from Giga Texas of like a mass amount of Cybertrucks that have been manufactured. By the way, I have an early reservation for Tesla Cybertruck, and I have still not been notified that that non-Foundation Series is available. I've been offered the opportunity to buy a Foundation Series Cybertruck on both my first and second reservation, which I've just ignored them. I'm waiting for them to say non-Foundation's available. And in theory, I don't think it's that likely at this point. In theory, when my non-Foundation Cybertruck is available, I will fly back to America and buy it and drive it around. And in my wildest dreams, I'm going to ship it back to. I have reached out to someone, a company that imports vehicles, and I believe I would be able to bring it to Thailand, and it would be awesome. I believe the tariff is 200%, and I think that might be discouraging me. I'd probably be able to sell it for a profit if I brought it here. But yeah. William says, what rough percentage of Tesla cars do you see on the streets there? Oh, I'll see, when I first got here, I'd maybe see one Tesla a day. Now I'm seeing like 3 or 4 a day. In fact, there was a new Model 3. And I walked back from the mall today. So this is a very short stretch, right? This is like less than a 5-minute walk. And in less than 5 minutes, I saw maybe 3 minute, 2 or 3 minute walk. Saw a Model Y, which is generally parked here. The owner of a salon and these condo complexes will have like some commercial space in them. And I think it's the guy who owns a salon or woman who owns a salon. He or she has a Model Y that I frequently see parked here. And then as I got closer to my building, approaching the 7-Eleven, there was a new Model 3. I'm not going to use the H word. So I probably went from seeing one Tesla a day to seeing 5 Teslas a day or 10 Teslas a day. But compared to the total volume of cars, it's way less than 1% right now. BYDs are more common. I am seeing other Chinese EVs. There's some very small city car like EVs called Neta and Ion that I see some. But probably Tesla's about even with, you see BYDs, that's like the number one selling EV and very high volume. The Atto 3 is a very high volume car. There's a BYD Seal, which looks like a Tesla Model 3 a little bit. There's a Dolphin, which is a little smaller than the Atto 3. I think it's smaller. Older looking, not as cool looking. And then outside of BYDs and Teslas, none of them really stands out that I see in high volume. On the road trip, I saw some Volvos. I think the Volvos are made in China. I saw some Deepal, Deepal. Not a lot of MGs, maybe. Yeah, so Tesla's probably close to number 2 in EVs in Thailand. That's a guess. Number 2 or number 3 in EVs. Now these Chinese are coming on. They got, what did I see at the EV Me? Xpeng has the new G6. That may be starting to sell in volume. We'll see. There's higher end EVs like Zeekr and Deepal and Xpeng, and I don't know whether they're going to sell in high volumes. So, but I do think the Chinese EVs are coming, and I do think, by the way, a criticism of both presidential candidates, of Biden and Trump, and probably Kamala, is the United States should welcome Chinese EVs. Chinese EVs should be welcomed. There should be no tariff. If you are going to tell me that your policy view is that climate change is an existential threat to humanity, and the Chinese are making EVs at low cost for you, you should let them. Bring the Chinese EVs in, and let people buy them and let people save money. Buying a BYD Atto 3 for 25 grand and then charging it home. And, it's a small car, but it's, competitive with something like a Honda CR-V maybe, or Toyota, whatever, the Toyota Corolla Cross or something like that. It's in that ballpark of size. People would buy that like crazy. And it would mean we would use less fossil fuels and we would use less energy and we would be more energy efficient, and all kinds of advantages to it. And this idea, if you're going to tell me that climate change is going to destroy the world and you're worried about China, like, shouldn't you be worried about climate change destroying the world more than you're worried about China? That's I try not to get too political here. And if you want to see my political views, it's a lot more of that on the X platform. I try not to do that too much on YouTube. Thank you, Mr. Mahadi. So, all right. So 5 minutes, I'm going to be going on the X platform to do a space. I don't see any questions about Tesla from anyone. I think we don't have that many people watching. So I think it's probably early in the morning in California and not a lot of people out. Fossil Fools, yeah. Is Tesla an exclusive brand there? Tesla is a premium brand, for sure. Tesla's a premium brand. It's true in China as well. I've talked to people in China. Tesla's a premium brand. The Chinese EVs do not have a strong brand perception. They are generally perceived as cheap. Even the ones that are made to look like luxury vehicles, Thai people generally view the Chinese vehicles as cheaply made. And Teslas have a reputation for being very well made. I took my fiance's cousin for a drive, and he's like a car nut. And he absolutely loved the Model 3. He thinks it's like way better. But the snug feeling, when you close the door of the car, the road feel and everything, he absolutely loved it. Thank you, Charles. Yeah, please follow me on X. It's WR4NYGOV. I'm very active on that platform, a lot more active than I am on YouTube at this point. I do hope to get back to doing more videos on YouTube, but it is what it is. So, all right, I need to get ready to go on the X platform to do a space. So I've got 5 minutes left, and I think it's a good idea for me to take a short break. So I want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you, Mark and Mark, for moderating. Mark, it's good to see you. Mark Plott, it's good to see you. I haven't seen. I feel like I think you've been not well or whatever, and I wish you well. And Mark Pototnik again, thank you. Yeah, free market. Look, I'm not saying the Chinese don't subsidize their EVs. They do. Well, we subsidize our EVs. What's the big deal? Let them in. Let America. Really, our government is massively screwing American consumers by not giving them access to these amazing Chinese EVs. I'm not saying they're better than Tesla. They are not better than Teslas, but they are better than gas cars in America. And you want to protect union jobs instead of protect the environment? What does that say about you? And oh, you're worried that China's going to get control of a strategic industry? Really? Strategic industry? Cars? What's the strategy there? It's just BS to protect special interests and screw over American consumers. American consumers should have access to $25,000 Chinese EVs that are great city cars. Not great road trip cars, but great city cars. And I imagine if BYD was able to sell cars in America, they would deploy a massive supercharging, DC fast charging network quickly. So ICE is dead after 10:10. I think it's going to take longer than that, Mark, but I think you're right. Okay, so please join the X platform, get verified, follow me on the space, ask to come up and speak on the X platform, and we'll talk some. Thanks everybody so much for watching.